My name is Eddy from Vasquez. I'm from Dominican Republic. I'm founder and currently funding director of Juventud Sostenible, Sustainable Youth in English, an organization, youth-led organization that is working to promote youth participation into public policies related to sustainable development. We focus a lot on capacity building, trainings, but also youth engagement and youth meaningful participation with public policy making, with consultations, but also with action projects that generate impact into the communities and the places that we live in. So a little bit about my journey. I started activism when it was actually 15 years ago when I was 12 approximately. And I decided I was looking for information on the internet about how to get engaged into recycling projects. It was initially, and I found the name of a contact in Dominican Republic that was managing some projects. At that moment, I thought, okay, let's do something. I'm gonna write an email to this person and let's see what's gonna go on. So I had the opportunity to create the first recycling project in this high school I was studying. And from that on, I decided to do an internship on project management development for circular economy projects. And from that on, since 2013, I've been engaged into waste management initiatives, modern litter prevention initiatives, sustainable development promotion projects, as well as public policies on climate change and international negotiations on climate change and plastic pollution. So it's been interesting to see how the first initiative of a very, very young boy that decided to write an email to a person that didn't know on the internet, but that was managing some projects, develop into a more fulfilling experience that allowed me to growth into the environmental sector, but also find a passion that I didn't know I had for environmental issues. Some years after, I decided to create with some other friends the organization that we call Juventud Sostenible. And through this organization, we realized, okay, there's a lot of barriers that we are facing as young people into the society that we're living in. What are we going to do to stop this? And we decided to make some consultations with youth people, around 1,200 young people in Dominican Republic, to try to see which are the demands that these young people had in related to the climate crisis emergency that we're living right now. And it was such a nice experience because that was the first experience where I realized, okay, working together has a power, but working together on the same goal also has a meaningful impact into the place that we are living. So from that moment on, I decided to found the organization with my friends. We have had it for the last 7 years. This is the 7th year in August that we are celebrating. And it's an interesting journey because we are learning about each other. We are also showcasing each other, where we are also supporting each other initiatives and dreams. And sometimes it's quite difficult into the adult center societies that we're living right now. But also it's kind of hopeful to see that you can find other young people living all around the country, but also all around the world that support the same ideas and the same mechanism to engage people that you do. So that's quite of my journey for the last, from the beginning. And in the last year, I have been dedicating myself to work a little bit more on the international arena with climate negotiations and plastic pollution negotiations, supporting the Dominican government to really showcase the barriers that we have as a small island developing state as Dominican Republic is in the Caribbean right now. You know, it's always pretty funny when we try to imagine ourselves where does it come from, right? So I remember that the first memory that I have of environmental things in my childhood, it was one day that I was at home from school, and I was receiving a class about biology at school that was primary still. In that class of biology, there was so many interesting stuff. When I arrived to my home back, I took an encyclopedia, one of those huge books that families used to have at their homes. And I remember that my favorite chapter about that encyclopedia was about ecology. And I used to read a lot about ecology. I used to see the amazing pictures about the biodiversity that we have, the different ecosystems, the ocean that we currently is the biggest ecosystem in our world. And many of I still have in my memory, even though it has happened more than 20 years after, I still have in my memory the images of that encyclopedia because it really cultivated me. I was raised in a city, so I always was a city boy. I didn't have the opportunity to interact with the nature as frequent as other people from other surrounding areas does. But I think that having the opportunity to be exposed, at least through videos, through texts, through histories, through images, it gave me the opportunity to really ignite that passion that I really have for environmental issues. I remember that a couple of years after, I created my first social networks, and I created some social networks that were related to protecting the environment that we live in, and the other was about avoiding environmental pollution. So I don't think many people look at those pages back then, but I do remember it was a huge task for me to try to educate myself through the resources that I had, but also educate other people around me to the resources and the information that I had at that moment. So I will say that the lack of being surrounded by nature in the place where I live and I was raised, it allowed me also to appreciate those moments, those brief moments that I have playing into the green fields or playing into the river or going to see the coastline in the city. So it really cultivates me to try to preserve those natural resources. Okay, for all of those people who are out there trying to support the work that I do, but also people like me do all around the world, I will say the first thing: let's try to engage, but meaningfully, with the people that surround us and has any kind of initiative or projects or interventions on the ground. Sometimes we think we are alone into this task, but the truth is that there's hundreds or thousands of people around the world living with the same passion, the same motivation that we have for the same causes that we are trying to defend. So let's try to support those people. That's not taken as a competition. There's a huge value into creating togetherness into the environmental fight that we have right now for the three crisis planetary that we are facing as a society. So I will say let's try to support the small ideas, but let's also support youth people. One of the many barriers I faced when I was trying to enter to this environmental sector and arena was that the word was too technical for me. And at that moment, I didn't know all the words, all the meanings, all the concepts. And it really had me difficult because I was a little boy. So let's try to give to engage more from an intergenerational exchange perspective where we can learn from the people that has been here for a while, but also let's give the people that is initiating this path the opportunity to grow into these scenarios. So let's support the people that are around us. Let's not think that, yeah, there are some crazy ideas, but let's not think those ideas are impossible. And let's also give a voice to the people that are new into the system, that are trying to engage and meaningfully engage into these processes.